Hello, Charles and Shane here. We're presenting our meaningful activity. We call it Open Sesame. We have this large bag, which requires a zipper to open, part of our fine motor activity. And then there's many different containers in here that we will be working through the opening process. If it is difficult, what we would like to introduce is adaptive strategies and adaptive tools that our clients can use to open things in their day-to-day lives.
And this is a very generalized kit we have, but if somebody has a certain type of medicine container or a preferred canned food, you can customize that to make it more client-centered for them.
Now we are going to talk about the kit itself and demonstrate some of the items and tools that we have inside.
And again, our kit mainly focuses on a lot of fine motor skills, and this can be used in different settings. Probably mainly adults, some home health, skilled nursing, just depending on what your client needs.
Here is a still shot frame of our activity kit so you can best see what is included. As you can see, there's the large bag as a base with the large and small size Tupperwares. Other containers include a beer bottle, different types of medicine bottles, a contact case, a typical soup can, a mason jar, a floss pop top, and a pop top soup and beer can, along with twist off chapstick. Tools we include are a typical can opener and a typical bottle opener, along with an adaptive bottle opener that is able to be used with one hand. We also include non-slip surfaces and non-slip grip openers that could be applied to multiple containers. As we have stated, you can also include different tools that apply to your specific client.
We chose to include a lot of canned foods in this kit because we realize that some of our clients might rely on canned food for independence. So if they can demonstrate the ability to open kits independently, then we figure that can help them stay more independent at home. And before you start doing any activities in this kit, you're always going to choose the most appropriate activity for your client, but you're going to want to be as safe as you can. So if you're opening up a container of food, be aware there are sharp edges. If you're showing them how to use a bottle opener, if the bottle is made out of glass, be aware of that. And if you are performing this activity in a certain context, so let's say heating up food in a container, be aware that the food is hot. And there's also on our pill bottles and contact cases, it is a choking hazard if you eat one of these, so you just have to be aware of that as well.
This also goes with doing the activity standing or sitting, take into account your client's functional ability. Always safety first.
Safety is key. And now I'll demonstrate as a client what I'm doing. So I'm performing this activity seated down because that's most comfortable for me, but your client, they would just do it to their comfort level. And then if you wanted to grade it up, you could have them do it standing, grade it down, do it seated. And so we have the zipper here. And if this is too difficult, you might want to work on some grasp techniques or even introduce some adaptive equipment. So you could introduce a button hook or an even more low-tech option you could do. You could just tie a string to this to make opening easier. And then we're going to start with the container part of the kit. And again, it's very intuitive, easy to do. You could work on grip, different kind of grips, so you could isolate different pinches with it. So I just kind of use like a gross grasp, but you can use like a 3-jaw check or even a tip-to-tip pinch to open it. And so doing it seated is going to be easier, but obviously doing it standing and opening it like that is going to be more difficult. And then we have different silicone grips in here for opening containers. We have a basic bottle opener, a one-handed bottle opener for people who have issues with one hand, potentially amputees, or if they do have like a severe injury on one hand. And then a smaller container, even smaller container.
And we have various types of pill bottles. We have the prescription bottle that you have to press down and rotate to get off. This is where some of these silicone grips can come in handy. They can also be used on the bottom as a stabilizer. We have a container that you have to twist around where the arrows line up, which introduces some cognitive methods and then you have to press up with your thumb so that it's focused on that sort of grip. And then we also have an easy open arthritis cap. So throughout this kit, we also introduce them to, if they struggle with opening containers, they can get modified containers. This Tupperware itself even has extra material on it, which makes it easier to open as well. We also have a dental floss container, a contact case with it being smaller. It requires more fine motor dexterity, and a chapstick.
So we're going to start with our easier tasks first, and we consider that to be opening this container. And so depending on your client's physical status and cognitive status, you can initiate this task in a multitude of different ways. So providing verbal cues if necessary, doing hand-over-hand assistance, like that. And then there are a bunch of ways to grade this up and grade it down. Nobody really opens big containers like these and they have nothing in it, so you can put water in it, and that takes in the whole entire factor of what's the safest way to open this without spilling water everywhere. And that's easily transferable to real life situations such as putting food in it as well.
In all of these containers and this task itself, you will apply based on the diagnosis. If someone is less functional on one arm, you want to teach them how to keep it as a stabilizer and then using their other arm. So as doing this task, you want to think through what diagnosis you may be working with.
For example, also, if somebody had a certain visual field loss, you'd want to place the container in their lost visual field cut so you can work on some scanning skills with them as well. And then now we're going to go through the different book containers again, just teaching them different methods to do it. Again, depending on their diagnosis, you want to grade it up. So you could have them standing to add in some standing balance things, since we perform a lot of our ADL standing. Seated, obviously, if they are in a wheelchair, it just depends on their comfort level and what they can do.
In facilitating this activity, if you were doing an actual session with it, we believe that you would have them open the bag and then pick out an item one by one so that they're not overwhelmed.
And you can also kind of make it a cognitive game for your client. So what you can do is that you could set up everything beforehand, and then you could say, I want you to grab me the floss container. And so I put the floss in the small container, and then just having your client search for it, you can see some of their cognition and their ability to follow directions. So it's a pretty a kit you can easily manipulate depending on your diagnosis.
And we think it is important to be client-centered and add and introduce materials that they themselves will be using at home.
So you obviously wouldn't have the contacts case in there if they have perfect vision. And one of the more unique parts of our kit is the adaptive equipment we have, because we do have some silicone grips. A lot of people are familiar with this. A lot of people are familiar with conventional bottle openers, but we decided to include this tool. It's around $15 on Amazon. It's a one-handed bottle opener. It has an end, so you can use it to open pop tops, put it like that. And then you can also use it to open beer bottles with one hand, like that. There you go.
Cheers! Do we want to end on opening a beer? Whatever you just say, cheers. Cheers.
Hi, I'm Shane, and you're watching Disney.